Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the Black Dragon Emperor and got harem with Ophis? Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Rainer flew out of the way of several light bullets before creating a light spear, which she threw at a stray exorcist, stabbing it through their chest. Repeating the process with 3 more exorcists before she had to block a strike from Donaseek. You should just give up now, you're outnumbered and outmatched. Donaseek said with a smirk, only to cry when Rainer slammed her head into his, knocking the traitor back. Yet you're the ones who are getting cut down. Retorted Rainer while seeing that Middle was killing her own share of exorcist and fallen angels, while also fending off Kalwerner, making Donaseek growl before charging her again. While Middle ducked under a swipe from Kalwerner's light spear, smirking as she slashed hers across the brunette's leg before slamming her fist into her face when she dropped to a knee. Look at you, on your knees and taking it in the face, must be a position you're familiar with. Taunted Middle, with Kalwerner glaring at her murderously as she threw her light spear at the lowly fallen angel. What? Jealous that I can actually get attention with my body, you little brat. Kalwerner said, with Middle jumping back and throwing her own light spear at her, which the brunette blocked with own, only to grunt in pain when Middle flew right at her, smashing her foot into her head. What do I have to be jealous of? A traitorous slut that's probably only good as a stress reliever. Yeah, a lot to be jealous of. Besides, who could ever deny a face like this? Middle said, flashing a cute expression before creating a light spear and threw it behind her, impaling 3 fallen angels that tried sneak attacking her. Only to grunt in pain when Kalwerner rushed her while her back was turned, slashing her across the back with a light spear, before delivering an axe kick that sent her crashing into the ground. Let's see what they say when I cut your face up. Said Kalwerner said, grabbing Middleton throwing her against the church's wall, with the blonde fallen angel getting up only to see she was surrounded by fallen angels and exorcists. The sight making Middle mentally curse before creating another light spear, while hoping she and Rainer will be able to last long enough to either deal with Donaseek, Fried, and Kalwerner or escape. Rainer, meanwhile, was having her own trouble with her opponents, having to deal with Donaseek, Fried, as well as the other exorcists and fallen angels. Along with being forced onto the ground as she couldn't fight Donaseek and the fallen angels, otherwise she'll leave herself open to be shot at by the exorcists. The Ravenette quickly blocking another light spear before kicking the fallen angel into a group of exorcists, knocking them all to the ground. Then creating multiple light spears, which she launched around her to take out several opponents and giving her some more space. Before crying out when Donaseek threw some dirt into her eyes and blinded her. Tucker. You know you can't beat me, so you have to cheat, Rainer shouted, while creating several light spears and having them float around her to act as a shield. You say cheating, I simply see another way to make sure we win. Retorted Donaseek, not caring if they had to fight dirty, only caring about winning in the end, with Rainer growling in annoyance before swiping her hand through the air and sending her light spears speeding towards her enemies before creating more. The freaking hell with this. Give me that. Fried shouted, getting annoyed that they hadn't already won, before taking another light gun away from another exorcist, before shooting both of them at Rainer. The Ravenette having no time to react before she was shot in her left leg, right shoulder and abdomen, making Rainer cry out in pain at being shot. Before grunting when Fried took the chance to rush up and slam his foot into her chest, sending her crashing into the ground. With the stray exorcist then walking up and kicking the downed Rainer repeatedly. Stupid. Freaking. Fish. Should have just quit and let me fuck you, then you'd die quickly. Now I'm gonna show you what I do to all the devils I killed. Fried shouted madly and cruelly before taking his light sword and stabbing it into Rainer's right leg, grinning crazily as she screamed. Rainer. Get away from her, you Middle said, flying up away from her opponents to try and save Rainer, only to gasp in pain when Kalwerner flew above her and smashed her foot into her back, sending Middle crashing into the ground. The lowly fallen angel went crying out when Kalwerner then stabbed her light spear into her lower back, smirking wickedly as she twisted the spear. What? Nothing smart to say now, you little fish. Kalwerner taunted, with Middle glaring at her through the pain. Yeah, I'm gonna shove my spear so far up your ass, you'll be tasting it, you freaking said Middle through gritted teeth before Kalwerner stomped on her head, slamming her face into the ground. Boy. Don't even freaking think about killing the little fish. After the trouble they freaking caused, I'm taking my frustration out on both of them. But starting with this fish first. Fried said grinning psychotically as he swung his sword and cut through Rainer's clothing, not caring if he also slashed her body, only caring if he could still use it. Whatever. But that doesn't mean the brat has to be in one piece. Kalwerner said stomping on Middle's back again, making the blonde fallen angel grunt in pain before her eyes widen at the state Rainer was in, seeing she wasn't even conscious anymore and what Fried was about to do. The sight terrifying and angering Middle, even more so that she couldn't even move with Kalwerner pinning her to the ground. No, 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 no. Middle mentally screamed, wanting to do something, but was helpless to try and save Rainer before she suddenly started feeling incredibly warm with the heat rapidly increasing. Before to everyone's shock, a massive amount of fire exploded off of Middle's body, throwing Kalawiner off her, along with throwing back all the exorcists and fallen angels. Some of the ones who were standing the closest to the lowly fallen angel not being so lucky and weren't immediately incinerated by the flames. But Middle gasping as she felt a sudden rush of energy, along with seeing her wounds were emitting flames as they sealed themselves shut. Shocked at the sight and the sudden flames, Middle quickly snapped out of it and rushed to grab Rainer before flying away as quickly as she could while she had the chance. I need to get somewhere safe. Fuck, we don't know where Naruto lives. Thought Middle, cursing that they didn't learn where Naruto was staying before she remembered that he's also attending Kuo Academy. He should be there now. Middle thought, flying towards Kuo Academy, hoping that Naruto will be there to help, and if not him, then hopefully the devils will. Present. Don't just stand there, she needs help. Middle shouted at the devils, who were still staring at her in shock at the fire emitting off her body. The lowly fallen angel having ended up crashing in front of Kuo Academy after being unable to keep supporting Rainer and using up the energy she'd gained. Leading to them crashing into the ground in front of several students, though at the moment Middle only cared about making sure Rainer survived. Why should we help either of you? How do we know this isn't just some trick you're pulling? Akeno demanded, snapping out of her shock while giving them a hostile look. Akeno. Now's not the time. Said Riaz, looking at her queen sternly before seeing Sona arriving with her own peerage, much to her relief. But Sona's peerage consisting of her queen Tsubaki Shinra, her bishops Momo Hanakai and Ryaku Saka, her knight Tomo Meguri, her rook Tsubasa Yura, and her pawn Raruko Nomura. Tsubaki is a young bespectacled woman with fair skin, long straight black hair that extends all the way down to her knees, with split bangs and heterochromic eyes, with a violet left eye and a light brown right eye, which were covered by blue semi-rimmed glasses with square lenses. Momo is a beautiful young girl with fair skin, long wavy white hair in a Harem cut, and blue-green eyes. Rya is a slim girl with fair skin, long brown hair that ends in two short braids and matching eyes. She also wears a blue headband. Amo is a beautiful girl with fair skin, shoulder-length, reddish-brown hair, and brown eyes. Her hair features swept bangs and a single strand of hair sticking out from the top. Tsubasa is a tall girl with fair skin, blue, shoulder-length hair, and matching blue eyes. And Raruko is a short girl with brown hair and long twin ponytails and green eyes. She wears a pair of green clips in her hair and she also wears striped green stockings. All of them having heard the crash as well and came rushing outside, only stopping once they saw what was happening with Ria's peerage and two injured fallen angels. Tsubaki, Tomo, Tsubasa, Raruko start gathering everyone together and start either erasing memories or making a cover story for what happened. Momo, Rya, help pick her up and bring her to the orc clubhouse. Sona said, immediately giving out orders, with her peerage members nodding before they got started on fulfilling their orders, while Momo and Rya going over and picking Rainer up before heading towards the clubhouse. Even the way Sona saw Keno looking at the fallen angels, she figured it'd be better having her bishops look after her and see about healing her injuries. A sentiment Rhea shared as she nodded at her friend in thanks before turning to her own peerage. Kaneko, Yudo, you both help the others in gathering everyone together and make sure this doesn't get leaked, as well as checking inside the buildings in case anyone inside saw something. I'll also be having Gasper locate and remove any images or videos that might have gotten leaked onto the internet. Said Riaz, with Kaneko and Kiba nodding in confirmation before they began moving to help make sure this doesn't get out. While Riaz, Sona, and a reluctant Akeno had middle follow them into the clubhouse, with them entering to see Momo and Rya had already taken Rainer to another room to start healing her. Though before they could begin questioning Middle, Naruto and Izumi soon arrived. What the hell is going on? Naruto said, having had just arrived at the academy to find Izumi waiting for him at the gates, only for them to then see Middle and Rainer fall out of the sky in front of everyone. The sight shocking both of them, especially the whiskered blonde when he recognized Rainer and Middle from the times his mother had Azazel help her locate and extract Vritra's other sacred gears. And who's she? Questioned Izumi while looking at Middle before everyone was silenced when Riaz gave a sharp whistle. Can we all just calm down? Riaz shouted, wanting to get answers as well, but they couldn't if more interruptions kept happening, while being pleased when she saw everyone take a moment to calm themselves. Middle, what happened to Rainer? What are you two even doing here? Naruto asked while looking at the fallen angel. We were sent here by Azazel-sama after learning that she had a sacred gear, a powerful one from what Azazel-sama told us. We were ordered to bring her to the Grigori should her sacred gear prove to be one she'd need help in learning to control, to ensure she didn't go berserk and start killing people. We were also meant to recruit a former nun that had been kicked out of the church as well, along with being in possession of a sacred gear called Twilight Healing. Middle said while looking at Izumi, who was surprised at hearing this while she and Naruto also remembered meeting Asia and her destination. But said Sona, feeling like there was a but coming. But someone altered our orders, making it seem like we were meant to kill her instead. Reiner was leading the mission, and with her loyalty to Azazel-sama and Shemazai-sama, she didn't even question the sudden change if it came from one of them. It was only after she saw you had arrived and were friends with her that Reiner contacted Azazel-sama and learned the orders were altered. Said Middle, making the brunette gulp at how she could have been killed, while Naruto narrowed his eyes. "I who?" demanded Naruto, swearing to find whoever tried killing his friend and make them suffer. "We don't know, but we did learn the traitors were Donasek and a stray exorcist Fried Selzen, who's about as crazy as they come. Kalwerner also joined them, making her traitor as well. They attacked me and Reiner earlier, and while we did our best, but they had the numbers and didn't hesitate to fight dirty. We were nearly killed when flames suddenly exploded out of me, giving me the chance to grab Reiner and get away, before ending up here, since we didn't know where you lived." Middle said, making the other frown at the mention of the flames. "And the flames weren't magic or some kind of ability unique to you?" Riaz asked, with the fallen angel shaking her head. "No, I've never learned magic before and I only have the same standard abilities that every other fallen angel has. That was the first time I could do something like that, along with somehow being able to heal much faster," replied Middle, looking herself over and saw all her injuries were now completely gone. "Middle, were you a regular angel before becoming a fallen angel?" questioned Naruto, having a guess on the abilities she has, with Middle looking at him with a raised brow. "No, I wasn't. I was born a fallen angel," Middle said, with Akeno's eye twitching at this given her own background, which confirmed Naruto's suspicions, along with Ria's and Sona's. "I believe the pyrokinesis and pyrokinetic regeneration are an ability you inherited from your father, I'm guessing. And we only know of one family that has those same abilities, the Phoenix clan," Sona stated, much to Middle's shock at hearing this. "What? No way. There's no way I could be half devil. I've never shown any weakness to holy or light-based weapons, never showing signs of having demonic power, well my wings have black feathers and not made of fire," said Middle, letting out her wings to prove her point, only to be shocked when rather than pure black feathered wings, they now looked to be made of smoldering embers that were desperately trying to ignite. "You were saying?" Riaz asked, while sighing at this new headache she now has to deal with. "It's likely you're either a daughter or descended from a member of the Phoenix clan, with your devil blood having been suppressed by your fallen angel blood, given it wouldn't be powerful enough to manifest with the light power you would have been born with as well. And with what happened, the stress and panic you must have felt is what gave it the kick it needed to awaken," Naruto explained, with Middle being shocked at learning she's a devil fallen angel hybrid. Before their attention turned to Momo and Ria exiting the room where Reiner was, shaking their head sadly, making Middle's heart sink at what could have happened. "We're sorry Kaichu, Riaz but we did the best that we could," Ria said, having done all they could to heal Reiner. "But her injuries were too severe for us to be able to heal, there isn't anything we can do," said Momo, much to Middle's fear that Reiner could die before looking at Riaz and Sona. "There has to be something you can do. Please save her. Do something, anything, just please don't let her die," Middle begged, not wanting her friend to die, with Riaz and Sona frowning as they looked at each other. "You both know there's one thing you can do to help her," stated Naruto, making everyone look at him, while knowing what the Uzumaki meant on what both kings could do. "You can't be serious, why would Riaz or Sona waste any of their pieces on helping a fallen angel? How do we know this still isn't some trick they're pulling?" Akeno said, not liking the idea of Reiner joining Riaz or Sona's peerage. "So you'd let someone die just because they're fallen angel? Does that mean you should be left to die for having fallen angel blood, or are you just a hypocrite that will let other fallen angels die, but not expect the same to happen to you?" retorted Naruto while glaring at Akeno, angry that she'd just let someone die simply because they're a fallen angel, with his words stunning the group and making Akeno momentarily back down in shock that he knew that. "Akeno, I know you don't like it, but Naruto's right. We can't just let someone die simply for what race they're a part of. I'll reincarnate Reiner as a member of my peerage, I'm also extending the offer to Middle as well. Given with her being a fallen angel and a descendant of the Phoenix clan, it'll put a target on her back for those that'll target Middle because of her heritage," Ria said, willing to reincarnate Reiner, and given Middle's ancestry, she'd have a target on her back, whether it be to harm her or exploit her, given how valuable a Phoenix clan member would be who didn't have the clan's protection. "Well, I will reincarnate Reiner, the choice to join is yours Middle," said Riaz while looking at Middle, who took a few moments to think about it. "I'll join your peerage," replied Middle, knowing with the fact she's a devil fallen angel hybrid, even more so that she's descended from the Phoenix clan, it now put a giant target on her back. At least as a member of the Grimoire Heiress's peerage, it'd lessen the risk of being targeted unless they wanted to get on the bad side of the Grimoire clan and Mao Lucifer. Plus she'd at least get to stay with Rainer as well, who'd likely need a friendly face after waking up and learning she's now a devil. Wonderful, we can do so now. Rhea said, smiling at Middle while summoning a pawn piece for Rainer and her second bishop for Middle. If you'll excuse me but I think I'd be of more use helping the others in covering up this incident. Akeno said neutrally with a short bow, making Rhea's frown before nodding as her queen left to help the others with the cover-up. While the Ravenet can understand why Rhea's is reincarnating Rainer and Middle, that didn't stop the anger and betrayal she felt by it. I'm really sorry for that. Akeno's behavior is inexcusable, she just has a hard time trusting fallen angels. I'm guessing you know why. Rhea stated while looking at Naruto, figuring if he knew about Akeno's heritage, then he likely also knows why she hates fallen angels, including her own blood. It's fine, I can understand her anger and it is justified, but she shouldn't hold every fallen angel responsible or in contempt for the actions of the few. And yeah, I know the reason, I've met her cousin Suzaku and Barakiel during my travels. Replied Naruto, being able to understand Akeno's anger and hatred, given what happened to her mother and his parents. But it's also something you should handle, before Akeno's hatred of fallen angels emotionally impedes her actions. Naruto added, also knowing that Akeno couldn't keep hating all fallen angels, otherwise it'll only end badly, with Rhea's and nodding. Yeah, I know. Said Rhea's, knowing she should have been helping all her peerage members with their problems, but she didn't like the idea of hurting them by making them relive the pain they went through. Seeing her expression, Naruto made a mental note to talk to Akeno as well, given he went through the same thing she did and could understand what she's feeling. Especially since he could honestly see himself in Akeno's place if things went even slightly different and he ended up blaming all devils in general for the death of his parents rather than those in the Great King faction that were involved in it. As for the nun you mentioned, I'm guessing her name's Asia Argento. Izumi and I met her before coming to school. Revealed Naruto, with Izumi nodding in agreement. Yeah, after hearing she was looking for the abandoned church, Naruto-kun offered her the chance to stay at his home since we didn't want to risk anything happening to her. Izumi added, making Rhea's, Sona and Middle nod at hearing this. That may be for the best, as it gives her some place safe to stay until these rogues are dealt with. Sona said, knowing Asia will be a target as long as these rogue fallen angels and stray exorcists are around. And that wait until after Rainer wakes up. Since we want to deal with them more than anything. Said Middle, wanting to make sure she and Rainer got their pound of flesh, along with planning to contact Azazel and let him know what's happened. I'm sure that can be arranged. Said Rhea's, not wanting to take any chances with these rogues and having both of them present would be incredibly helpful. Middle, come meet me after Rhea's reincarnates you, if you'll be helping deal with the rogues, then I can help you learn to start using your flames. Naruto said, with the lowly hybrid nodding at this, eager for the chance to learn to use her new powers, especially imagining all the ways she can make the traitors pay. I'll be going now to help with the cover-up Rhea's, as you seem to have everything handled. But let me know if anything else comes up. I'll also make an excuse as for why you and Naruto won't be attending class. Said Sona, with a red-eyed and whiskered blonde nodding in response as the Citrieris left. Later. Ugh, how am I still alive? Thought Rainer as she started waking up, feeling like she just got thrown through a steel wall and then run over by a semi-truck. Before the Ravenet's eyes snapped open at the feeling of someone pressed up against her, Rainer looking only to see a naked Rhea's pressing her body against her own naked one. With the red-eyed also being awake and smiling at her. Glad to see you're finally awake. Rhea stated at seeing her new pawn was awake after being unconscious the entire day. What the fuck? Rainer shouted, freaking out at suddenly waking up in bed, naked with the Grimoire heiress beside her, before jumping out of bed and looking around rapidly with Rhea's getting up. Hey easy there, calm down, you're safe. Middle brought you here after managing to get away from the traitors. Said Rhea's, assuring her that she's safe, with Rainer calming down slightly at hearing Middle was fine as well. I'm not a fallen angel anymore, at least not completely, am I? Rainer stated, given the injury she suffered, she knew she should be dead, with the fact she isn't meant only one thing. No, you aren't. I reincarnated you as my pawn to save your life. I also reincarnated Middle as my bishop after we learned that she was really a devil fallen angel hybrid, as well as being descended from the Phoenix clan. Having awakened her devil blood and powers when the two of you were getting overwhelmed, which helped her escape with you. She's also contacted Azazel, who's given his blessing for both of you to be part of my peerage, since it'd be better than the alternative. Rhea's explained, shocking Rainer at hearing Middle is actually a hybrid, before the red-eyed held out a Kuo Academy uniform for her. And here, I'm having someone currently repairing your outfit, so this'll have to do," said Riaz, which Rainer took and began putting it on. "Thanks," muttered Rainer, still feeling a bit upset at now being a devil, but knew there wasn't any other choice, especially if Middle did contact Azazel and get his blessing for them to be reincarnated. And while she'd prefer having stayed a fallen angel, Rainer much preferred still being alive, especially as it'd give her the chance for some revenge on those traitors. Once dressed, Riaz and Rainer exited the room and headed into the main clubhouse, finding the rest of her peerage present, including Middle along with Naruto and Izumi. With Middle smiling happily at seeing Rainer was awake before they all turned to Riaz when she sat down. "Now then, Middle has already told us everything about the traitors in the abandoned church and what we should be expecting. Akeno, Kaneko, Yudo and I will be dealing with Freed, as well as the lower-ranked fallen angels and the rest of the stray exorcists," Riaz said, having already learned about the numbers they should be expecting, and she doubted they'd actually have any trouble, but she'd prefer being safe than sorry. "I'll be dealing with Donaseek, while Izumi's offered to look after and protect Asia at my home, just in case," said Naruto, the brunette nodding in agreement, wanting to make sure Asia is safe, along with taking the chance to get to know her and Kuroka better. Plus, getting the chance to bring the Nekashu in on her harem plan. "Leaving that bitch Kalwerner for us," Middle said with a dark smirk, eager to pay Kalwerner back. "Perfect, I have a lot of aggression, I need to let it out now," said Rainer darkly, also eager to get some payback on the traitors. "Then it seems we know what to do and who we'll be dealing with," stated Riaz, with everyone nodding in agreement as they stood up and left, with Riaz, her peerage and Naruto heading to the abandoned church, while Izumi headed for the Uzumaki's house. Later with Izumi. After arriving at Naruto's manor, Izumi went inside to find Asia and Kuroka in the living room, sitting on a couch with the latter hiding her ears and tails for the time being. "Izumi. Glad to see you're back," Kuroka said while smiling at the brunette, which she returned. "Hey Kuroka, Asia, nice to see you two as well. How are you settling in, Asia?" Izumi asked while sitting beside Asia, who smiled at her. "I'm doing very well, thank you. Kuroka has helped shown me around and helped me get settled in a room. Though she can be rather forward," replied Asia while blushing at the end since Kuroka had taken to teasing her, before letting out an eep. When Kuroka hugged her tightly pressing her breasts against the nun's back. "Ooh, I can't help it Naya. You're just so adorable Asia-chan and so fun to tease. And you look so cute when you blush," Kuroka said, smiling as she rubbed her face against Asia's, making her blush intensify, while Izumi grinned at the sight. "She'll definitely be perfect in helping make Naruto-kun a harem king," Izumi thought excitedly. "So Asia, what exactly are you doing in Kuo?" Izumi asked after Kuroka let the blonde girl go. I was transferred here from my old church after I used my power to heal someone they didn't want me to," said Asia, looking down sadly at how she'd been kicked out of the church for healing a devil. "You mean your sacred gear?" said Izumi, making Asia look at her in surprise. "You know about sacred gears?" Asia asked, not expecting that, with Izumi nodding in response. "Yeah, we both do. I actually have one and so does Naruto-kun, he's even helping train me to awaken my sacred gear," Izumi replied, surprising Asia again before she looked at Kuroka. "And do you have a sacred gear, Kuroka?" questioned Asia, with the Nekashu shaking her head before letting her ears and tails out. "Nope, I'm just Naruto-kun's pretty kitty. But I don't mind being your kitty Asia-chan, Izumi-chan." Kuroka purred while laying across their laps, making the nun blush brightly, while Izumi grinned lewdly before looking at Asia, while Kuroka got up. "And the person you healed it was a devil wasn't it?" Izumi stated, with Asia nodding sadly. "Yes, it was. I don't regret healing them, since I believe that the Lord gave me this power to help everyone, no matter who they were. Though it also led to me not having any friends or anyone to talk to, having been seen as a holy maiden before then being treated as a monster and a witch that could heal anyone, even devils and fallen angels. I didn't mind though, since I liked being able to help everyone, regardless of who they are or their race. But the church didn't agree and they kicked me out," Asia said sadly, with Izumi and Kuroka looking at her in sympathy before the Ravenet hugged her. "Let me tell you something Asia-chan, I've seen plenty of people and supernatural beings, I've seen those who are real monsters despite being human. And you certainly are no monster, you're just a pure and kind-hearted girl that loves helping people. That doesn't make you a monster, it makes you special," Kuroka said, smiling at Asia, while Izumi nodded in agreement and wrapped an arm around her. "Kuroka's right. As for not having friends, well now you have me, Kuroka and Naruto-kun as well. We'll be your friends, who you can talk to whenever you want, I also have some more friends I can introduce you to," Izumi said, with Asia looking at them in surprise. "Really? You want to be my friends?" Asia asked hopefully, with Izumi and Kuroka nodding in response. "Yes, we do. After all, who wouldn't want to be friends with someone so adorable? Kuroka said, grinning as she hugged Asia tightly and making the nun blush again, even more so when Izumi hugged her as well. Yeah. And I'm sure Naruto-kun will even be happy to help you better master your sacred gear, just like he's helping me. Then we can spend even more time together," said Izumi, with Asia blushing at the close contact, but smiled happily at finally having friends. "I'd like that, I'd really like that," said Asia before Izumi and Kuroka let her go as they continued talking and getting to know each other better. With Asia soon getting up to go to sleep, leaving only Izumi and Kuroka, with the brunette seeing her chance to bring Kuroka on board with her harem plan. "So, Kuroka, do you like Naruto-kun?" Izumi asked, with the ravenette nodding without hesitation. "Of course I do. What isn't there to like? He's strong, brave, kind, protective, handsome, and so much more. Naruto-kun's exactly the kind of guy I've been looking for, and I have no intentions of letting him go," said Kuroka, as well she wasn't sure she could say she loves Naruto, yet anyway, she did care about him a lot. "And what if other girls wanted to be with him?" said Izumi, only to gasp when Kuroka slid a hand up her thigh with a sly smile on her face. "Then I'd say even more fun. Why, interested in joining Naruto-kun and I when we finally begin making some kittens?" Kuroka asked, making Izumi grin in excitement. "I'd love to, but first I wanted to tell you something. After Naruto-kun returned, learning he was alive, I began making a plan. Since me and our other childhood friend, Irina, both had crushes on him, and I don't want to make Naruto-kun choose between us or any other girl who likes him. So instead, I've been making a harem plan to make Naruto-kun a harem king. And since you've been with Naruto-kun for the past 10 years, I'm hoping you'd be able to help me and tell me about all the other girls he's met and have feelings for him," Izumi explained, the Nekashu looking at her in surprise before gaining a Cheshire grin on her face. "If I wasn't saving myself for Naruto-kun, Izumi-chan, I'd throw you on the ground right now and make you scream my name," said Kuroka, making Izumi blush brightly with a clouded look in her eyes. "No worries, I'd prefer Naruto-kun taking all my firsts anyway, no offense Kuroka-chan. And if you're in agreement, who are the girls you can tell me about that like Naruto-kun?" Izumi asked eagerly, wanting to know about all the girls Naruto's met and have feelings for him. "That comfortable Izumi-chan, because it's quite a list," Kuroka said with an eager smile before she began telling Izumi of all the girls she knew of that had feelings for Naruto and what she knew about them. Abandoned church. Meanwhile at the abandoned church, Donaseek stood inside the church with a scowl on his face, angry that Rainer and Middle had managed to escape. All because the fucking human couldn't keep it in his damn pants. Donaseek thought, angered that they could have been able to kill both of them, yet Fried couldn't keep his own urges under control, letting them escape. Though he was pulled from his thoughts when he suddenly heard the sounds of fighting outside, making him summon a light spear. "Whoever you are, Eureka," Donaseek said only to choke when a glowing blue line wrapped around his neck, with more wrapping around his arms, legs and wings, suspending the fallen angel in the air. Trying to break free, Donaseek's eyes widened in panic when he couldn't access his power anymore or even create a light spear. His panic only growing when a shadowy aura wrapped around his body, further restraining him. "Let me tell you how exactly you fucked up," Naruto said, stepping out of the shadows with 4 small chameleons with deformed faces on his hands and feet, this being one of his sacred gear, the absorption line, which he can use in conjunction with Blaze Black Flare, Delete Field and Shadow Prison. Using Delete Field to seal away Donaseek's abilities and Shadow Prison to further restrain him. Having had no intentions of this being an actual fight, especially since fighting a fallen angel of Donaseek's level wouldn't even be a warm-up for him, and planned for this to simply be a message. "First, you're a traitor, and I really can't stand traitors," said Naruto, walking back and forth in front of Donaseek, with the fallen angels crying out when the lines around his legs tightened until they snapped in half. "Second, you tried killing Rainer and Middled, but not before willing to let a lunatic try to rape them," Naruto continued, with Donaseek screaming in pain as his arms were broken this time. "Third, you were going to kill an innocent girl by ripping out her sacred gear, probably even let that lunatic rape her as well," said Naruto, with Donaseek's pain increasing tenfold as rather than break his wings, the lines wrapped around them tightly before tearing them straight off. Fuck. You son of a bitch, you'll fucking regret," Donaseek shouted before Naruto wrapped his hand around his mouth, glaring murderously at the fallen angel. "And fourth, you thought you could kill one of my best friends. That alone sealed your fate," Naruto growled before activating Blaze Black Flare, forcing jet black flames into Donaseek's mouth and down his throat. The fallen angel screaming in pure agony as he was burned from the inside out while being muffled by Naruto's hand. Unable to do anything but try and thrash about as the flames burned away at his body and his soul. "I don't know where fallen angels go when they die. But wherever it is, don't worry, you'll be having company soon," Along with when I find out who you're working for, I'll send them screaming to meet you," said Naruto, watching as Donosike finally died before dropping his lifeless corpse and sitting down to wait for the others. But Calwarner. Well, Calwarner was returning to the abandoned church after going out to try and locate where Rainer and Middle were, only to come up empty-handed. With any luck, the bitch is already dead and the stupid brat will turn up eventually, then I can finish the job. Thought Calwarner before her eyes widened when she arrived at the church, only to see the exorcists and fallen angels being wiped out. With the brunette crying out as before she could go and deal with the attackers, she was hit in the back by a flame-coated light spear. Followed by Rainer dropping down from above, slamming her foot into the traitor's back. "Hi. Remember us," Rainer said with a wicked grin as she and Middle stood over Calwarner, whose eyes widened at seeing the Ravenette's new devil wings, and even more shocking was that Middle's were made out of fire. "Surprised by the new look? Then you can die being surprised," said Middle, creating a flaming light spear which she stabbed into Calwarner's left leg, relishing in her screams of pain. "Ayaya. Fucking devil bitch. What, you finally realized neither of you were made to be fallen angels and decided to join the fucking devils," Calwarner said through gritted teeth before screaming again when Rainer stabbed a light spear into her shoulder. "We were better fallen angels than you could ever hope to be. Even as devils we're still more fallen angel than you. You're just a traitor, and for what? Because the chaos from some damn plan would be fun. Newsflash, you stupid bitch, anything we did would have reflected badly on the entire Grigori, all fallen angels would be targeted. Your plan would have gotten us all killed," Rainer shouted, glaring at Calwarner before stabbing another light spear into her other shoulder. "At least I'll die a real fallen and not some reincarnated bitch," retorted Calwarner before screaming again as Middle stabbed another spear into her other leg. "No, you'll die as you lived. Being penetrated," Middle said, stabbing a flaming light spear through Calwarner's abdomen, with the brunette screaming in agony as she started burning from the hellfire, while Rainer grabbed her wings. "As for dying as a real fallen angel, that won't be happening since I'll be taking your wings, given how you don't deserve to die with them," Rainer said before slicing both of her wings off, increasing her pain even further. The two watching and waiting until Calwarner stopped moving and was little more than a charred husk, with Rainer then promptly stomping on her head, stabbing her heel through the traitor's skull and crushing it. "Just wanting to make sure she's dead," stated Rainer to Middle's look, making the lowly hybrid smirk before they went to meet up with the others. Arriving to see Riaz and the rest of her peerage dealing with the last of the exorcists and fallen angels. "You all are certainly efficient," Middle stated, stepping over some of the bodies, as Riaz looked at them while Akeno, Kaneko and Yudo finished the last of the enemies. "We've had a lot of time to improve ourselves," Riaz replied, pointing her thumb behind her and firing a blast of her power of destruction at a stray exorcist. "Did you make sure to kill Fried?" Rainer asked while looking for Fried's body, given he was the most dangerous one among them. "If you mean the one that cursed a lot, I think I cut off his head," said Yudo while pulling his sword out of a fallen angel, having used his holy eraser sword to negate their light weapons. "Oh yeah, there it is," said Middle, spotting where Fried's body and severed head were, glad to see he was dead as well. "That's the last of them, but you," Kaneko said, killing the last of the exorcists. "Ifufufufu, my, that was certainly fun and quite the stress reliever," said Akeno with a faint blush, having focused mainly on the fallen angels to help calm herself down from the anger she's felt since Riaz reincarnated Rainer and Middle. "Good, then let's see if Naruto's finished as well," Riaz said, pleased to see the results of her peerage's past training with how easily they were able to handle the exorcists and fallen angels. With everyone heading into the church, only to see Naruto sitting down and Donosike's body on the ground. "I take it you all dealt with your targets," Naruto stated while standing up, getting nods from the devils. "Yes, and it looks like you've dealt with yours. So, it looks we're all done here for the night. Good work everyone," said Riaz, smiling at her peerage before looking at Rainer and Middle. "Rainer, Middle, do either of you have anywhere to stay?" Riaz asked, making both former fallen angels frown. "No, we don't," Middle replied since they'd just been using the church as their base until they were done here. "We didn't think we'd be staying in Kuo for long, so we never bothered finding a more suitable and permanent base," said Rainer, with Aridid frowning at this, since she wasn't going to have them leave if they didn't have anywhere to go. "You can stay at my place, I have plenty of room, so you'd both be more than welcome to stay," Naruto offered, getting surprised looks from the others. "Really?" Rainer asked, not expecting the offer, with Naruto nodding response. "Yeah, I wouldn't mind. And like I said, I have plenty of room at my house, much more than I know what to do with. Even with Asia staying there now," Naruto replied, wanting to help them, along with using it as a chance to earn Ria's trust, while the Grimoire heiress frowned at this before looking at Rainer and Middle. "If you both want to, you're welcome to stay with Naruto either permanently or until you find your own residence. It's perfectly fine with me if you wish to stay with him," said Riaz, reluctant to let them stay with Naruto since they were now members of her peerage, but she did see it as a chance to see if Naruto's really trustworthy. "Well, in that case, yeah, it'd be nice to staying with you, Naruto," Middle said, with Reiner nodding in agreement. "Yeah, it'd definitely be better than staying here. Along with seeing Asia again," said Reiner, wanting to also see how Asia's doing. "Great, then let's go. And I guess I'll see the rest of you tomorrow," Naruto said, motioning the two to follow him while waving to Riaz, Akeno, Kaneko and Yudo. "Yes, you will. Take care until then," Riaz replied. With everyone exchanging farewells before heading their separate ways to go home and call it a night, while Naruto escorted Reiner and Middle to his home. "You live here?" Reiner asked in disbelief as she and Middle followed Naruto into his house, not expecting it to be this big or grand, with Naruto seeing that Kuroka and Asia were likely asleep now and Izumi had gone home. "Yeah, along with Asia and a friend of mine as well. You both are also welcome to stay as long as you like or simply live here permanently if you want," replied Naruto, not minding if they decided they wanted to live here permanently. "Are you kidding? The entrance alone is bigger than my old room. Hell yeah, I'd want to live here," Middle said, definitely not minding the idea of living here, with Reiner nodding in agreement, liking the chance to live here. "Great, just pick a room you want for tonight and then we'll see about getting you both some stuff. Though how are you both feeling? With everything that's happened, being betrayed and nearly killed, finding out you're a devil fallen angel hybrid and now being reincarnated as a devil. Are you both alright?" Naruto asked as they sat down in the living room, knowing they've both been through a lot today. With Reiner and Middle sagging slightly in their seats as everything that had happened fully began setting in for them. "It's definitely a lot to take in. I'm honestly beating myself up for not realizing Donaseek and Fried were traitors, since Donaseek was always a battle maniac that only cared about fighting. While Fried was a psychopath that only cared about killing. Well, Kalwerner, she had been loyal to Azazel-sama, but mostly since she was able to do whatever she wanted. So it's also not surprising that she'd betray the Grigori if she got a better offer. So the betrayal itself wasn't really surprising in hindsight," Reiner replied, with Middle nodding in agreement. "Yeah, what we're really angry about is them nearly killing us and even going to let that psycho Fried rape us. As for finding out I'm half devil, that's something I never would have expected, let alone that I'm related to the Phoenix clan. I always thought my 2 cent was just some random human or another fallen angel my Ka-cent slept with, not a Phoenix," said Middle, still surprised that she's related to the Phoenix clan. "I know the feeling, having things change all of a sudden, learning different secrets, it can leave you feeling tired," said Naruto, perfectly understanding the feeling, given he felt it when he first met Ophis and learned about the supernatural world. "And what about being devils now?" Naruto asked, since that's also a big change to go through, from being fallen angels to being devils. "That's going to take some getting used to. I'm just glad I still have my original wings," said Reiner, having tried testing to see if she still had her black feathered wings, feeling relieved and happy she still had them in addition to her new devil wings. With Middle also having her original wings, though they still look like they were made of embers and ashes with the awakening of her devil blood. "I actually don't feel that different, besides the obvious. And the new power is something I'm really liking so far," Middle said, smirking as she created a ball of hellfire, knowing it'll make her light spears even deadlier. "Well, look at it this way, as devils, you'll have the chance to learn plenty of new abilities and powers, allowing you to grow stronger as well as improving what you already know. And don't get beepy Middled, just because you have the same powers as the rest of Phoenix clan doesn't make you invincible. You still need to learn to use it, master it, then keep improving on it. Which is why tomorrow, we'll be continuing your training, you'll also be joining us, Reiner," Naruto said while being glad that tomorrow is Sunday, giving them even more time to train, making the two look at him in surprise. "You're still going to train me?" Middle asked, not expecting that, having only thought he'd help her gain some control over her flames and then leave her training to Riaz. "And you want me to join you?" asked Reiner, also not expecting him to offer to train her, given they were only really acquaintances. "Yes, I'm going to still train you Middle. And yes, I'm going to train you as well Reiner. Both of you have a lot of potential and I want to help you both reach it. Especially since you both didn't still go along with the plan to kill Izumi and extract Asia's sacred gear," Naruto replied, seeing that both of them had potential to become incredibly powerful. "Even though the only reason we didn't is because you showed up?" Reiner asked with a raised brow, knowing if Naruto hadn't shown up, they likely wouldn't have checked in with Azazel and learned the truth, instead simply continuing with the original plan. "Yes, because that means both of you are also smart enough to not try pissing me off. Unlike those idiots that are now dead," said Naruto, making Reiner and Middle laugh slightly since it was true, even after they learned Naruto was here and what he's capable of. Donosike, Fried and Kalwerner were still going to try going after Izumi and Asia. Okay, if you're offering to continuing teaching me, I'm ready to learn. Middle replied eagerly, knowing with Blaze Black Flare, Naruto had to know a lot about using fire in combat and different ways to use it. Yeah, it'd be nice to get started on seeing what I can do now. Added Reiner, also eager for the chance to train with Naruto. I'm glad to hear it. We'll start tomorrow, where you'll also be training with Izumi. For now, get some rest. Naruto said, with Reiner and Middle nodding in response before he showed them where some empty rooms they could use were, with the girls taking two on the first floor that connected together. Once that was done, Naruto headed up to his own room and stripped down to his boxers before getting into bed, falling asleep soon after. Time skip one day. The next day, Naruto woke up early before taking a shower and getting dressed before heading downstairs, only to stop when he saw Asia was already awake and in the kitchen. Asia? Naruto said, getting her attention, with the blonde nun looking at him in surprise, not expecting him to be awake already. Naruto, I wasn't expecting anyone to be up yet. I was preparing breakfast for you and Kuroka. Asia said while biting her lip nervously, having wanted to repay his kindness and letting her stay here, making Naruto frown as he walked over to her. You didn't have to do that, I'm not expecting you to do anything for me, and neither is Kuroka. Said Naruto, not wanting her to think she has to help around to stay here. But I want to thank you for letting me stay here and I don't want to seem ungrateful. Said Asia, only for Naruto to smile at her. You don't have to thank me, Asia, I was happy to help you since you were lost and didn't have anywhere else to go. I wasn't expecting anything in return, all I needed was making sure you had somewhere to stay and were safe. Naruto said, making Asia look at him in surprise before she smiled brightly at the Uzumaki. Thank you, Naruto. But I still want to do something and I already started. Asia said, wanting to at least finish making the breakfast she started on. Okay, but let me help you, since we actually have two new guests staying here that came back with me last night. Said Naruto, getting a curious look from the nun, wondering who else was here, before nodding since she'd only been expecting Naruto, Kuroka and herself. Izumi and Kuroka also told me about your sacred gear and that you're helping train Izumi to awaken and use hers. Asia said as they began preparing breakfast. Yeah, I am, Kuroka, and I are also helping teach Izumi magic and martial arts so she doesn't become overly reliant on her sacred gear and have other abilities to fall back on. Are you interested in joining? Naruto asked while looking at Asia, who looked unsure at the idea of learning to fight. I'm not sure. I wouldn't mind learning to better control my sacred gear, but I don't know if I'd be any good at fighting. Replied Asia, with Naruto nodding and understanding. That's fine, we can just focus on your sacred gear. But the offer to learn magic and martial arts will be open, even if it's only defensive. And I'm sure you'd be a great fighter, Asia, after all, you're already pretty strong to have a sacred gear and use it to help people, regardless of who they are. That not only makes you strong, but shows you do everything you can to protect the people you care about. Said Naruto while smiling at the girl, making Asia blush lightly at his words. Thank you, Naruto. I'll have to think about it though. Asia said, now thinking about accepting his offer, but wanting time to decide. Of course, the offer is open whenever you're ready. Naruto said, making Asia smile slightly and nod before they heard two steps of footsteps approaching. Looking, they saw Reiner and Middle coming out of their rooms, with Asia's face turning bright red at the sight of them. The reason being Reiner, who was completely naked, showing off her large breasts and bare snatch, and Middle, who was only wearing her lingerie, which was white with black lace. Beep. Asia said before quickly covering her eyes, not expecting the guests Naruto mentioned to be in their underwear or lack thereof. Is that really necessary to come out like that? Naruto asked, not that fazed by it, given he's already seen plenty of girls and women in their underwear and being completely naked, while Reiner and Middle shrugged. Hey, not our fault, all we had to wear was our clothes from yesterday. Replied Middle, given their old clothes needed to be repaired from their fight, leaving them only the Kuo Academy girls' uniforms Rias gave them, which were currently covered in blood. And do you really think with my usual outfit I actually wear underwear at all? Reiner asked rhetorically while crossing her arms under her breasts. It's nice to see you again, Asia. Reiner added while smiling at the blonde nun, happy she's safe and no longer in danger from the traitors, with Asia uncovering her eyes before they widened as she finally recognized the Ravenet. Reiner? Said Asia, now really surprised since she didn't think Reiner would be one of the guests and who she guessed was another fallen angel. Yeah, I was gonna tell you that the guests I was talking about are Reiner and her friend Middle. Though they aren't fallen angels anymore, at least not entirely. Said Naruto, making Asia look at three only to be shocked when Reiner and Middle revealed their devil wings. But the three then explaining what had happened with the traitors and what would have happened to her if they didn't learn someone had altered their orders. Something that horrified Asia at how close she came to dying and having her sacred gear extracted. You don't have to be afraid, Asia, we never actually wanted to hurt you, we just thought we were following orders. Rainer assured, with Middle nodding in agreement. And I'm sorry that me and Izumi lied to you yesterday about not knowing where the abandoned church was, but neither of us wanted to risk anything happening to you. Said Naruto, with Asia shaking her head before smiling shakily at them. It's fine, Naruto, in fact, I should be even more grateful that you took me in to make sure nothing happened to me. And I don't blame you, Rainer, or you, Middle, I'm also thankful to both of you for wanting to help keep me safe, and I'm glad both of you are still alive. Asia replied, thankful for them in preventing her from being captured and killed. You don't have to thank us, Asia, we're just glad everything worked out. Naruto said while putting a hand on her shoulder, with Rainer and Middle nodding in agreement. Yeah, it honestly could have ended a lot worse, but we're all still alive, so that's good. Stated Middle. Agreed. Said Rainer, as even if they're devils now, they're still alive at the very least. Now you both get dressed in something. Said Naruto while looking at Rainer and Middle, making both girls smirk before the lowly hybrid put her hands on her hips while Rainer leaned forward and pushed her breasts up. Why? Are we perhaps distracting you? Middle asked while twirling around and sticking her ass out. Well, I don't mind admiring beautiful girls, I don't want Asia passing out. Naruto said while glancing at Asia, whose entire face was bright red, making Rainer and Middle giggle. Fine, we'll go put something on. But if you like admiring us so much, maybe we should dress like this more often. Even better if you like what you see, Asia-chan. Rainer said slyly while winking at the nun, getting another eat. From Asia as she quickly went back to making breakfast, with Naruto joining her once Rainer and Middle had left to get dressed. Not long after, Kuroka came down while thankfully dressed in her kimono, sparing Asia from further embarrassment. With Rainer and Middle soon coming out as well, now dressed in some casual clothing, though both girls momentarily froze when they saw Kuroka. Recognizing her as an SS-class stray devil and one of the underworld's most wanted criminals. Managing to recover and act normally, given they doubted Naruto would have Kuroka around if he thought she was a threat. With Naruto and Asia soon finishing breakfast as they all sat down once the table was set, only to hear a knock at the door, making the Uzumaki get up to answer it. Being immediately greeted by Izumi hugging him tightly with a large smile on her face and carrying several bags with her. Izumi? I'm surprised to see you here this early, not that I don't mind. Though what's with the bags? Naruto said while hugging his friend, confused at the bag she's carrying. Sorry, but I couldn't wait to get here later. As for the bags, after talking to my parents, I was able to convince them to let me stay here for a while, since it's been so long since we've seen each other. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me, Naruto-kun. Izumi said happily that her parents were allowing her to stay with Naruto being surprised at hearing this before smiling. That's great. It'll be nice having you stay here. Even better that it'll provide more time for your training. Replied Naruto, happy that the brunette would be staying here, both so they could reconnect some more and for her training. And so Kuroka-chan and I can better work on the harem plan. Izumi added mentally, knowing she and Kuroka will be better able to plan out the details of the harem plan with her staying here. You can just set your stuff down until you pick a room you want, since we were just about to have breakfast. Naruto said, with Izumi nodding as she put her bags down by the stairs before joining Naruto and the others in the dining room. Izumi. It's nice to see you again, and that you'll be staying here. Asia said while smiling at Izumi, having heard what they were saying, and liked that her friend will be staying with them. Agreed, it'll be so much fun having you here, Izumi-chan. Added Kuroka with a smirk, having already known Izumi planned to talk to her parents about staying here after she was brought in on her harem plan. Thanks, it's nice seeing you all here as well, and I'm sure it will be Kuroka-chan. Izumi replied with her own smirk, while also being pleased to see that Rainer and Middle are apparently now living here as well. Rainer and Middle traded a look before smirking at each other, being able to tell Izumi and Kuroka had ulterior motives and were likely planning something involving Naruto. Something they were sure would be rather entertaining to watch unfold. Later. After finishing breakfast, Naruto and the girls headed out into the backyard to begin their training, with the Uzumaki going over to the training equipment before opening a box and pulling out several metal rings. Before we get started, all of you put these on your wrists and ankles. Naruto said while tossing 4 rings to Izumi, Asia, Rainer and Middle, getting confused looks from the girls before they slipped them onto their wrists and ankles. The moment they were on, the symbols on the rings lit up as they suddenly shrank and fastened themselves to fit perfectly. Before the girls all yelped in surprise when they suddenly fell to their hands and knees, making Kuroka snicker slightly since she's seen it happen before to those Naruto helps train. What the hell are these things? Middle exclaimed while trying to stand up, only to feel like she had boulders tied to her arms and legs. They're called iron rings, training tools that are used in martial arts to harden the muscle, skin and bone, as well as strengthen the arms and legs. But I improved them with sealing magic, making them register the wearer's height, weight, mass, strength and body types, then the weight of each ring is increased to the point that the wearer can barely move, but also isn't hindered by them. Making them even better for improving your speed and strength. Naruto explained while watching as the girls managed to eventually pick themselves up, with Izumi and Asia taking a little longer than Reiner and Middle due to being human. And why do we need to wear them? Questioned Reiner as she struggled for a moment to move her arms with how heavy the rings were, wondering why she and Middle needed to wear them when they were already pretty fast and strong. Because even if you're already fast or strong, it doesn't mean you shouldn't still try improving yourselves. Plus, if you're faster and stronger than your enemies, then you won't have to worry about them catching or hitting you. Well, for you Asia, it'll help you be able to move faster to heal your allies and dodge attacks. Also, you only have to wear the rings during the training, that way you aren't being hindered in actual combat or anything else. Said Naruto, making the girls nod in understanding while he gave them a few moments to get used to the added weight. Now then, we'll be starting off with some basic exercises to help you get used to the rings before moving on to lessons. Though Reiner, Middle, do either of you specialize in anything? Naruto asked, wanting to know what they're capable of. I'm able to make multiple light spears at once, rather than just one at a time, along with being pretty good at magic. Said Reiner, given most fallen angels could only create a single light spear, she's able to create several at the same time, along with having learned a bit of magic as well. I just have the standard powers of a fallen angel, along with the hellfire, immortality, and control over the wind I now have from awakening my devil blood. Middle said, with the whiskered blonde nodding at this. Okay Reiner, you'll train along with Izumi under Kuroka to start learning more magic. I also have several books you both can read to learn more and better understand the various different types of magic. Well Middle, we'll be working on you learning to manipulate your hellfire in different ways. Said Naruto, with Reiner nodding at this, liking the chance to learn more types of magic, while Middle looked at him with a raised brow. Don't I just shoot fire at enemies or coat my light spears with them? What else would there be to learn? Middle asked, having thought it'd just be getting better control over manipulating her flames, not using it in different ways. Rather than respond, Naruto held out his hand before creating black flames, which soon began shrinking and condensing into a small orb in his hand. Before he then threw it up into the sky, and to the amazement of the girls, aside from Kuroka who's already seen this, the tiny orb exploded into a massive firestorm of black flames. Anyone can learn fire magic and simply shoot it out at enemies, but it takes skill and training to really master it. Try throwing a light spear at me. Said Naruto, much to their shock, with Middle looking at the others who also weren't expecting this. Looking back at Naruto and seeing him nod encouragingly, the lowly hybrid created a light spear before throwing it at him. Only for them to be surprised that the spear was burned away by black flames before it could touch him. Manipulating your flames for both offense and defense, as well as finding other new ways to use them outside of simply firing them at enemies, is what helps show your abilities and imagination. The only limits you have are the ones you believe you have. Naruto said, looking at them and seeing they were listening intently to his words. For you Asia, your sacred gear lets you heal any living creature, right? Said Naruto while turning to the nun, who nodded. Yes, but I'm only able to heal injuries, it can't regrow lost limbs, get rid of exhaustion, or cure sicknesses. Asia replied, knowing there were still limits to what twilight healing can do. Alright, then you'll work on expanding the range of your healing aura, making it so you don't have to be near an ally to heal them, and be capable of healing multiple targets at once. And work on thinking of ways you only target allies, so you don't end up healing enemies as well. Naruto said, knowing with her kind nature, Asia's sacred gear could also end up healing enemies, which would be better to avoid. Right. Said Asia with a nod, wanting to improve her sacred gear so she can better help her friends. And Izumi, you'll be continuing the training you've already started with Kuroka and I. And since Reiner and Middle have joined us, we can also work on sparring, so you can start getting some experience in fighting, while Asia will be on standby to heal any injuries. Said Naruto since he and Kuroka weren't good opponents to spar against, unless they really held back. But the girls all nodding and understanding at what their training will be like, before Naruto motioned for them to get started on the physical exercises. Later. After training until the afternoon, everyone went inside to rest and have lunch before Naruto and Izumi took Asia out to show her around Kuo. While Reiner and Middle had gone to meet with Rias to get started on their devil duties. With Naruto and Izumi currently showing Asia the plaza with all the restaurants and shops there. Alright, so what do you want to get Asia? Naruto asked while looking at the blonde nun, who was surprised at the sudden question. What do I want to get? Asked Asia, not expecting them to actually get her anything, just that they were helping show her around. Yeah, what do you want to get here? Like clothes, things to decorate your room, school supplies? Asked Izumi since Asia would also be starting at Kuo Academy tomorrow, along with Rainer and Middled. And don't worry about money since I'll be paying for everything. Naruto added, which only made Asia look at them and worry. No, that's fine, you really don't have to get me anything. You both are already doing so much, I don't want to take advantage of either of you. Asia said, not wanting them to do even more for her than they've already done. Asia, we're friends and helping each other is what friends do, no matter what they need help with. You're not taking advantage of us by needing to get stuff to feel more comfortable here. Besides, you're also staying at my house, so it's also my responsibility to make sure you're comfortable and have everything you need. But mostly because I want to help you, Asia, so you don't have to worry about not having something you need. Really, I don't mind helping you buy whatever you need to get. Said Naruto, with Asia being surprised and touched by his words. Well, I do need more clothes and I do need stuff for the academy. Asia admitted, knowing there was a lot of things she needed, especially if she'll be starting a Kuo Academy. Great. Then let's go, I know some great clothing stores we can go to. Said Izumi before grabbing Asia's hand and quickly running off to the stores with Naruto following after them. Or clubhouse. Meanwhile, Rainer and Middle were being given some flyers to pass out to potential clients after Riaz explained the finer details of their duties to them. So we just hand these out to people and wait to be summoned, and if they're satisfied they'll form a contract with us. Middle stated, with Riaz nodding in response. That's right, most of the requests should be pretty simple ones that anyone can do, while being able to get more as you advance in rank. Like me, though I usually have clients that want me remove curses from cursed items or defeating monsters that are attacking the client. Replied Riaz, with both girls nodding in understanding at what they were supposed to do before leaving to go hand out the leaflets. Not long after they left, Riaz saw a magic circle appear before the image of her brother appeared over it. Nai-sama, I'm surprised to see you calling. Is this about who you'll be sending to Kuo? Riaz asked, with Surzich's nodding in response. Yes it is. After going through some potential candidates, Serafal and I have chosen to send Saraerg and his peerage to Kuo to keep an eye on Naruto Uzumaki. Replied Surzich's, causing the Grimoire heiress's eyes to widen. Are you sure sending Saraerg is the best idea? Questioned Riaz, given the fact that Naruto is the reason both his father and their ancestor were now dead. Which also technically made Saraerg the new Lord Baal, but given he's still relatively young and isn't ready to take up the position, he's instead having someone acting as leader in his stead. With Saraerg having chosen hers and Surzich's mother, Benelana Grimoire, given she's a Baal by birth and possessed the power of destruction. Something that helped placate the rest of the Baal clan. And while Saraerg hadn't been particularly close to his father or ancestor, they were still family and he had more interactions with them than Riaz did. So she wasn't sure if he'd be able to resist attacking Naruto. Something she really didn't want to happen, not wanting to see the result of a fight between Naruto and her cousin. I understand your concern, but I believe Saraerg will be able to control his emotions and act professionally while in Kuo. But for the sake of secrecy and ensuring that the rest of the underworld doesn't know that Naruto is in Kuo, we didn't tell him why he's being sent to Kuo. So, you and Sona will have to tell him. And he should be arriving tomorrow. Surzicha said sheepishly, with Ria's eye twitching in annoyance at hearing this. Gee, thanks Naibaka, leaving me to tell Saraerg that Naruto's in Kuo. I can see just how much you care. Ria said sarcastically in a bitter tone, internally loving the sight her brother crumble under her words before ending the call. Iridied sighed as she leaned back in her chair before getting up and began stripping to go take a shower and relax, doubting she'll have many moments to relax soon. With Naruto, Izumi, and Asia. Izumi and Asia had gone to several stores, with the brunette managing to get the nun to finally relax and start getting stuff she wanted. With Naruto not being bothered by how much the girls got, while also teleporting everything they bought back home to save them the trouble of carrying everything. But the trio soon leaving the plaza and continued showing Asia around Kuo, eventually ending up at the arcade. Ooh, come on Asia. Me, Naruto-kun and our other friend used to go here all the time when we were little. Izumi said in excitement at getting the chance to go here with Naruto and Asia. And I remember you'd always want to go do something else after me or Arena beat you at too many games. Naruto said with a smirk, making the brunette give him the stink eye at the reminder. Well, I've been practicing, so it'll be you losing this time. Izumi retorted confidently. We'll see. Naruto said still smirking. I'm not sure, I've never really been to an arcade. I don't think I'll be any good. Said Asia, not sure about trying to play games, only for Naruto and Izumi to grab her hands. Don't worry, we can show you how to play them. Said Izumi while smiling at the blonde girl, with Naruto nodding in agreement. Yeah, it's not that hard, just do the opposite of anything Izumi does. Naruto added, with the brunette punching him in the arm in response. Oh okay. Asia said while smiling hesitantly upon seeing that her friends would help her learn before they entered the arcade. Once inside, Naruto and Izumi took Asia to the different games and showed her how they work before playing them themselves to give her a demonstration before the nun try herself. Surprised and impressed when Asia showed to be rather good at some of the games. After showing her how all the games work, the three each began playing and competing against each other. With Izumi being pleased that she was even able to beat Naruto at a few of them and get the high score. Before the brunette went to a prize grabber, spotting a Pikachu plush before putting in a coin. With Izumi moving the claw over the mouse plush, grinning as it grabbed the toy and dropped it down the chute. Asia, look at what I just won. Izumi said, smiling at her friend and showing her the plush, with Asia smiling at the cute toy, only to be surprised when Izumi held it out for her. Here, I want you to have it, so you'll always have something to remember today. Said Izumi, surprising Asia as she took the plush before smiling brightly at Izumi. Thank you Izumi, I love it. I'll call it Rakyu-kun. Asia said while smiling at her gift, making Izumi giggle at the name. I'm glad you like it, this has been a really fun day with you and Naruto-kun. Izumi said while smiling at Asia, making the other girl blush lightly. I should be thanking you and Naruto for being so kind to me. Said Asia, which Izumi waved off. You don't have to thank us Asia, we're friends and as long you're happy we're happy too. Stated Izumi. Izumi's right, you never have to thank us for anything Asia, just enjoy yourself. Naruto added, walking up to the girls before showing he won his own prize, a plush of the Fire Dragon King Igneel from Fairy Tail, which he then held out to Izumi, while getting a raised brow from the brunette. Did you get the just because I have a dragon-type sacred gear? Izumi asked. Maybe. Do you not like it? Naruto asked, with Izumi immediately snatching the toy. I never said that. Said Izumi while smiling at her gift, making Naruto smile as well. They're both so kind and caring. I'm really happy they're my friends. Thank you Naruto, Izumi, for being my friends. Thought Asia while blushing as she looked between the two. The trio played a couple more games before taking their leave as they continued exploring Kuo and showing Asia around. Later. Once it started getting late, the trio returned to the Uzumaki's house, where they were greeted by Rainer and Middle in the living room. With Izumi and Asia going to set up their rooms and put away everything they'd gotten while shopping. By the way, what floor are you on Asia? Izumi asked, curious about which room Asia is staying in. Oh, I'm actually on the second floor just down the hall from Naruto's room. Replied Asia while blushing slightly at being on the same floor as Naruto's room, with Izumi smiling brightly at this and taking her hand. Great. I plan to stay there too, we can have our rooms be right next to each other. Izumi said as they went up the stairs, with the brunette grabbing her bags on the way up. So, what did you two do today? Naruto asked while sitting in a chair and looked at Rainer and Middle on the couch, with the two shrugging in response. Nothing much, really. We just passed out leaflets to people and waited to be summoned. We both actually got our first contracts today. I was summoned to help a college student that's studying abroad by getting her notes and helping her confess to her crush. Which helped get me a contract with her when everything went smoothly. Rainer replied, though she had been confused with how they both were constantly wearing armor. I was summoned to cosplay for a photo shoot, which was pretty easy since I'm just too cute. Said Middle with a smirk before flashing an adorable expression, making Naruto laugh lightly. Well, I'm glad things turned out alright for the both of you and that you managed to form contracts with clients. Said Naruto before turning serious. I'm sure you both are also wondering about Kuroka. Naruto asked rhetorically, given she's still a wanted criminal in the underworld and an SS-class stray devil. Yeah, we didn't say anything since you must have a good reason to have her around. Middle said, with Rainer nodding in agreement. She's not really guilty of her crimes is she? Stated Rainer, figuring that Kuroka wasn't actually guilty of killing her king. Oh no, she killed her former king without hesitation, but it wasn't because she was drunk on power like everyone believes or claims. I won't say why, since that's Kuroka's choice to tell you what really happened, but she had a very good reason for what she did and I trust her completely. And will do everything I can to prove her innocence. Replied Naruto, making Rainer and Middle curious of what really happened but nodded in understand while accepting Naruto's words that she wasn't a threat. Out of curiosity, how did you think of that attack you showed us in that flame armor? Middle asked, curious of how Naruto thought of doing that with his flames. I'm just good at thinking outside the box on ways to use my sacred gears and magic, which helps with how sacred gears can change to reflect the thoughts and feelings of their user. Though most of the attacks I've created have come from replicating attacks and abilities I've seen before, with the flame armor actually being inspired by a Tanuki Hanum I once met that specialized in sand-based attacks. along with anime, manga and other pop culture media, with the other half of the inspiration for the flame armor being the Protego Diabolica from the Harry Potter series. Naruto said, much to both girls' disbelief. Seriously? You get inspiration from pop culture? Questioned Rainer, with the Uzumaki nodding in response. Yes, you'd be surprised at the inspiration you can get from them with how many involve supernatural creatures, gods, and big fighting scenes. I have a lot of them if either of you want to give them a try and see if they give you any ideas. Said Naruto, making the girls hum in thought while considering the offer, since it could help them. Why not? It can't hurt to see if it can help. Rainer said with a shrug, since it never hurt to try new things and see what you can learn from them. Yeah, and if you really got inspiration for attacks from that stuff, then I definitely have to give it a try. Added Middled, wanting to be able to use her hellfire and control over the wind the way Naruto's able to use his own flames. I'm sure you both won't regret it. Naruto said with a smirk, knowing how useful manga and anime can be. Plus the chance to get them hooked on it as well is too good of an opportunity to pass up for the whiskered blonde. The end. So how was this part? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this part with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.